Let me welcome you, my dear students. This is our 17th learning session of short fictional narratives with BS English 3rd semester. My dear students, in this lecture, we are going to discuss the effect of colonial and post-colonialism on the African people in the matter. So, my dear students, let's discuss this topic or let's start this topic. As you know, the story exposes the inconsistencies and disparities in the settlers, means the construction of self and other as the center on the misrepresentation of the natives in the eye of white settler. So let me discuss that what is the concept of self and other. Means if we talk about the self, that white people think they are in the center and the other people are other, means they are not able to talk with them, and they are not able they are not able to talk, and they are not able to discuss anything with them, and they are just like slaves and servants. So they are the concept is self and other. So the story opens with the news of violent death of a European settler couple, which acquaints the reader with the increased wave of violence that had spread all over the country. As the murder of Mr. and Mrs. Gladstone is discussed by Mrs. Hill and her two companions, Mrs. Hardy and Mrs. Smiles, two opposing lines of thoughts are revealed to the reader. While the friends of Mrs. Hill are evident proponent of the imperialist discourse, viewing the natives as savage people characterized by depravity and ingratitude. So Mrs. Hill, one of the earliest settlers, owning a lot of land with big tea plantations sprawling right across the country, she favors a more liberal approach. Though she is an apologist for the imperialist narrative of means we can say the narrative of civilization, her construction of colonized Kenyan is premised on flexed on liberal values such as tolerance and co-option. So we can simply say that means it is Mrs. Hill who just want to say that they are not savage people, means African are not savage people, they are also a free souls, and they have right to do anything. But the other one means Mrs. Hill and Mrs. Smiles, the other two companion of Mrs. Hill, they thinks that they are the savage people. So priding herself on the charitable approach toward her houseboy Najori as well as her own employees, Mrs. Hill believes she represents the modern line of thought, devoid stereotypical perception of the uncivilized savage. She thinks that they are in the beginning she thinks that they are not savage people, but now at the end she thinks that the black people are uncivilized and they are savage. She believes that she and her husband and other had tamed the wilderness of his country and had developed a whole mass of unoccupied land. So people like Najori now live consented without the single worry about the tribal wars. And here we can say that it is the time when the tribal wars are fought, and they had a lot to thank the Europeans for. Means we can say that here we find the concept of colonization, means it is the concept of white people, that it is the burden of the white people to civilize the savage people, or civilize the means to educate or civilize the black people or Asian people. But as the story unfolds and the narrative perspective shift to Najori, Mrs. Hill's progressive ideas, means the progressive ideas are revealed as mistaken impressions, and the irony of her conviction is not lost on the reader. Means Najori despises Mrs. Hill wholeheartedly. He resents her hypocrisy and complacency. Sorry, complacency, and above all the liberalism and paternalism. She does not know, means she doesn't know that for Najori she is embodiment of those forces which have driven him from the land and force on him the humiliation of working as a servant. So we can simply say that it is about the black people who thinks that the or black or African people who think that it is the white people who enforce us to into slavery and who enforce us into servantism. So what Mrs. Hills understand as a taming of the wilderness as its civilizing is, in Najori's eyes, the aspiration of Gyukyu land that had been temporarily abandoned by his family because of a famine and the injustice of the it is not famine, it is famine, and the injustice of the expropriations, as well as the deepening resentment toward the consenting Europeans leads Najori to the idea of revenge. So it was about the black people who think that Najori, who just want to get back his the place or the land, and he just want revenge from Mrs. Hill, and he joins the Freedom Boys and plans to kill Mrs. Hill as an act of rebellion against the settler. Yet, as a wait for the rebel, he visualized Mrs. Hill as a mother and thus humanized her. So, unable to proceed with his original plan, he set out to warm her. He just want to save her. So he set out to warn her about the rebel and save her. However, Mrs. Hill, who has experienced a similar epiphany and understood that Najori is a man who with the family and not just her servant, succumbled to her instinctive fear and kills Najori. Her savior is alleged and self-defense. So she just killed her. She just killed the she just killed him for the purpose of savior. Means that clearly discuss that Najori presents the tension of the Momo period and its historical we can say the antecedents as a tragic murder. It is a murder, but a tragic murder of mixed perception, limited point of view, and missed opportunities for mutual cultural understanding. So this is about that, and as the title of the story indicates, the author makes us the concept of martyrdom to explore the problematic dynamic between the colonizer and the native, means Kenyan, in the turbulent period of the emergence. Since the story disclosed the news of the murder of the Gladstone right at the beginning, one might immediately associate the murder of the title with the murder of European. Means it is this is about the perception of the white people, but we are reading this text, so it is about the murder of black people. A black person means Najori, who just want to save the white person, or similar case for the martyr. At the beginning, the story is focalized through the character of Mrs. Hill. However, later it shifts to Najori perspective, which provides a counter narrative to the employer's viewpoint. Once Najori decided to save Mrs. Hill, he clearly assumed that the role of the savior and is thus symbolically portrayed as a Christ figure. So, dying at her hands, he becomes the martyr of the emergence cause. So, my dear students, Here the while we can say that here while or here Najori's senseless death might symbolize the sorry irreconcilable division between the natives and the settler, and might in fact depend on the resolve of the native to fight against the Europeans. Nugubi adopts the uncharacteristically liberal approach to the theme in the story. So colonialism had a bad effect on African people. That's why the reaction came into existence, and he wants just freedom, while post colonial effect was the reaction of freedom boys and free boys, and the Najori who defines that he is not a savage and he wants to protect Mrs. Smiles, and means he just want to protect her and sacrifice his life for the sake of white person. So it is about our lecture. Thank you so much. Allah Hafiz.